Back in May of 2024, our planet got slammed by a storm. But not one of wind or rain. Nope, this was a storm of particles and magnetism unleashed by our very own star. It was, get this, the most powerful solar storm in over 2 decades, and it put on a show that, wow, no one is gonna forget anytime soon.
I mean, people everywhere, from Florida all the way to northern India, were looking up and seeing these shimmering curtains of light just dancing across the night sky. For so many people, this was a true once-in-a-lifetime event. So, what on earth was going on? What caused this incredible global spectacle?
You have to understand, this wasn't your typical light show, the kind that's usually just confined way up in the Arctic Circle. This geomagnetic storm was so intense that it literally pushed the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights, down to places they are almost never seen. It was beautiful for sure, but also a kind of unsettling reminder of just how much power our sun holds over us.
So what even is an aurora? Well, think of it like a cosmic collision. You've got these charged particles streaming from the sun, right? They hit Earth's magnetic field and get funneled down toward the poles, and that's where the magic happens. They crash into the atoms in our atmosphere and make them glow. The green colors, that's oxygen at lower altitudes. The red is from oxygen way higher up. And those amazing blues and purples, that's all nitrogen getting in on the action.
Okay, so to really get what happened here, we have to trace this light show all the way back to its source, the sun. This whole celestial light show was actually the grand finale of a super dramatic series of events that started days earlier, right on the turbulent surface of our star.
The first piece of the puzzle is something called a solar flare. The best way to think about it is like a colossal lightning strike on the sun. It releases this massive burst of X-rays and energy that travels at the speed of light. It's the flash, It's the brilliant announcement that something big is happening.
But the flare? That's just the beginning. A lot of the time, they're followed by something called a coronal mass ejection, or a CME. Now, this isn't just light. We're talking about actual stuff. A physical cloud with billions of tons of solar plasma and magnetic fields all getting hurled out into space. This is the cloud that actually makes that long 93 million mile journey to Earth.
And it's so important to get this distinction. A huge, bright flare doesn't automatically mean you're going to get a powerful Earth-directed CME. You really have to think of them as 2 different things. The flare is the flash, but the CME, that's the punch. You can have a dazzling flash with a really weak punch, or just a medium-sized flash with a true knockout punch.
So who was the heavyweight champion delivering that knockout punch back in May 2024? Well, it was this absolute monster of a sunspot cluster. It was so big and complex that it got its own designation, AR4366. This one single active region was the source of all the chaos.
And get a load of this sequence. Over just a few days, AR4366 was like a machine gun. It was just firing off one major X-class flare after another. And X-class, those are the most powerful type there is. This region just kept letting him rip, and each one seemed to be more potent than the last.
And here's the real kicker. These weren't just flashes of light. Nope. Each one of these major flares also launched a CME, sending wave after wave of magnetized plasma hurtling directly toward our planet. It was like a multi-day solar assault. Earth was just taking shot after shot.
So, all this stuff is hurtling through space. What happened when this barrage of solar material finally reached us? I mean, yeah, it created those beautiful auroras, but its impact was felt far beyond just the pretty lights in the sky.
And we can actually see the moment of impact. Check this out. This chart shows data from a magnetometer. It's a device that measures Earth's magnetic field. See that massive, insane spike right around May 11th and 12th? That is the moment the combined force of all those CMEs just slammed into our planet's defenses. It sent the solar wind measurements completely off the charts.
And this is where it stops being just a cool space story and starts getting serious. This is why it matters. That magnetic shockwave put our modern technology under some serious pressure. For starters, it caused outages in communication satellites. Then you've got GPS systems, which became unreliable with signal delays and inaccuracies. Some satellites were even forced into a protective safe mode to prevent damage. And on top of all that, the atmosphere itself actually swelled up, creating more drag and forcing operators of satellite networks like Starlink to burn precious fuel just to reposition their satellites.
Right, and this quote from Quest Journals really hits the nail on the head. It says, "The event on May 11 highlighted the interconnectedness and vulnerability of modern technological systems to space weather." And that's the main takeaway, isn't it? The storm was a stark reminder of just how dependent we've become on technology that's, well, pretty vulnerable to the whims of our sun.
But hold on, because the story isn't over. Not by a long shot. See, as the sun rotates, that hyperactive region, AR4366, it eventually turned away from Earth. But it didn't just vanish into thin air.
You see, the sun spins, right? It takes about 27 days to make a full rotation. So after a 2-week journey across the far side, totally hidden from our view, the sunspot survived. And just like clockwork, it rotated back around to face us once more.
And you can bet scientists were glued to their telescopes. As one solar observatory put it, the solar region that set the record for the current century is returning to Earth. The question on everyone's mind was, is it still going to be active?
Oh yeah. The answer was a big, explosive yes. Upon its return, the region unleashed an absolutely massive X8.1 flare. To put that into perspective for you, that was the 20th most powerful flare recorded in 3 decades. The monster was still very, very much alive.
So what's the big takeaway here? The Great Solar Storm of 2024 was both a beautiful spectacle and a really serious wake-up call. That giant sunspot is still out there, reminding us that we live inside the atmosphere of a very volatile star. And as our lives become more and more interwoven with satellites and global networks, the question is no longer if a major storm will hit us. The question is, are we ready when it does?